We make a lot of decisions during the course of a day. What clothes we are going to put on, what we will eat during the course of the day, what types of things and activities we will do during the day. Some of these things that we decide will be life-changing decisions. But yet some of the things that we decide will not make any difference in the scope of our lives. The psalmist in Psalm chapter 119 verse 30 writes, I have chosen the way of truth. Your judgments I have laid before me. In all the things we do, the one thing we should keep focused and centered in our lives is, what does the Bible say, and what biblical example is there that I can base my decision upon? In Jonah chapter 1 verse 2, we read, the Lord said to Jonah, arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry out against it, for their wickedness has come up before me. Now, we do not know what Jonah's life was like leading up to this, but we read the Lord came to Jonah and told him to go to Nineveh and preach, or as the passage says, cry out against it. Jonah had a decision to make. Was he going to go to the city, or was he going to try to go in the opposite direction of the city? We all know the story, and the decision that Jonah made was to get on a ship headed to Tarshish, which was in the totally opposite direction of Nineveh. We also know the outcome, that there was a terrible storm that came up and did not subside until the sailors on the ship threw Jonah overboard. Jonah ended up spending 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a fish and then spit out on dry land. In chapter 3, we read the Lord came back to Jonah a second time and said the same thing. This time, Jonah did as the Lord asked and went to Nineveh and preached to that great city. The efforts of Jonah were highly successful, and the people of Nineveh believed and entered into a state of mourning once they learned the truth about God's word. As Christians, we typically look good. We have our Bibles. We have our Christian books all over our houses. We drive off to church, or at least we used to, on Sundays, all dressed up and ready to go. We look like we have it all together. Then God sends something sailing into our courts, an interruption to our well-coordinated routine. Maybe it's a spouse with a health issue. Maybe it's a child that's been diagnosed with a special need, or an aging parent who needs care. Or maybe it's a financial setback, an added assignment at work because your company is trying to do more with less. Suddenly, instead of feeling confident and put together like the incredible Christian, we want to point to someone else and say, you get this one. We don't want it. Suddenly, we are Jonah with a decision to make. Suddenly, we have our own Nineveh. Your response at moments like these indicates whether you are going to yield to God completely or take off like Jonah did in another direction of your own choosing. Psalm chapter 32 verse 8 reads, I will instruct you and teach you in the way that you should go. I will guide you with my eye. The Lord has a plan for each of us. We have to be patient, obedient, and faithful and let Him direct our paths. When the opportunity for us comes up to show the love of God and the gospel by what we say and by our actions, we must depend on the Lord to give us the words and the confidence to go boldly. One person's problem is another's divine intervention. One person's problem is another person's privilege. When your Nineveh comes up, and it will, what kind of person do you want to be?